Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayana Namo Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmi Narayana Namo Namaha. Om Shri Nar Narayana Namo Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Narayana Namo Namaha. Om Shri Vasudev Narayana Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Aim Reem Klim Chamundai Viche Sarvamangal Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharannitrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Om. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the question about the Atma, and we are attempting to contemplate based on multiple scriptures. So to continue from yesterday, I was talking about the reference from Vachanamrutam about ekantik dharma, ekantik bhakta. So that is in Gujarati over here. So the actual line is as follows, which I'm going to try to explain. It's a very profound line, and it would take a long time to explain it, but I'm going to try to explain it in the next couple of days in connection to Vivek Chudamani and some other interconnections. So the line is as follows: Je ekantik bhakta te dehano tyag karine sarve mayana bhav thi મુક્ત થઈને અરચી માર્ગે કરીને ભગવાનના અક્ષર ધામને પામે છે. So what this means is that we have within us, as per Vedanta, the influence of the three bodies. So if you remember from the Vivek Chudamani, Shankaracharya ji in Vivek Chudamani, right in this verse number 21, he is describing Vairagya. So Vairagya is where the vortex of the interconnection with the three bodies, Sthul, Sukshma, Karana, that is no longer present in Vairagya. Even though bodies exist, physical body exists, activity exists, mental activity exists. The causal body actually may not exist in that 100% situation of Vairagya, but the causal body may still have some force. But the state of Vairagya is where there is so much realization of the transitoriness of the world, and it is an abiding realization. It's a realization that continues. So, just to recap very quickly, Vairagya, Dharma, and Jnana, these three are protectors of bhakti. So, along those lines, we want to go forward into the next verse to try to understand this a bit further. So now he's going to explain the Chatushta Sadhan, this Sham Damadi Sadhan, in more detail. So verse number 22 is as follows. I'll read the translation first and then we'll go into it line by line. This is from Vivek Chudamani. The tranquil state of mind, when it rests constantly upon the contemplation of the goal, after having again and again detached itself from myriad sense objects through a process of continuous observation of their defects, is called Shama. So he's described what is Vairagya, now he's describing Sham. So remember, Vairagya, Sham Adi Shata Sampati, there's 6 parts in the second part, and then the Mumukshutvam, right? So there were four things. If you remember what they were, let's go back real quick to what they were. So they were Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, number 1. Then the second was Amruta Phala Bhoga Viraga, that's number 2. Number 3 was Shamadi Shataka Sampattihi, and the fourth one is Mumukshutvam. So now we are going to talk about this Shamadi Shata Sampatti. This is what he's just explaining. So he's already talked about Vairagya in that previous verse. Now we go to the next one. So here, let's take a look at this step by step. So the first word here is it's virajya. Virajya, Vishaya, Vishaya Vratad. So this word here, Vishaya Vratad, means the vortex, the chaos of the sense objects. This is a very big thing to understand. So the word Viraj, or Virajya, if I'm saying it correctly, Virajya, Virajya, Vishaya Vishaya Vrajtad, Vishaya Vrajtad. I'm trying to understand the Sanskrit carefully here. So in Sanskrit, this word Vishaya means the objects, and Vratad, Vishaya Vratad, Vishaya Vratad, that's what it is. So Virajya Vishaya Vratad, that is the pronunciation, correct pronunciation. I may not have pronounced it correctly before. The chaos of the sense objects. What is that? First of all, the objects are there. The five Panchvisha, Shabda, Sparsh, Rupa, Rasgan. Shankaracharya ji now takes it a bit further to begin, so that we can begin to get a clear understanding that there's chaos in these objects. We are jumping from one thing to another, one thought to another. It's an unbelievable confusion inside the mind. And the word Virajya is having detached from that chaos. It is not a detachment from the object itself. The objects are there, but the chaos generated inside the mind due to the lack of realization of the Atma, that due to lack of realization of the Atma, there is this chaos. Because the Jiva is searching for joy. He's searching for joy. Let me get this, let me do this. It just goes on. People take vacations, trips, then they go for malls, they do this, then they get tired of that, then they could do something else. And it's a continuous flow in the Prakriti. It is a running after the Prakriti and changing it. They get tired of it and change it. And eventually it creates chaos inside the mind. This is a matter of realization. To realize the level of chaos created by the mind, to realize that is part of jnana. You're beginning to see the nature of Maya more clearly. That it is creating a tremendous amount of vortex within. And then the next word is dosha drishtaya. See, virajya, vishaya vratad, virajya, vishaya vratad, dosha drishtaya. A process of observing the defects. If I keep running after foods that I like, okay, I like certain foods to some extent, okay, if I go further in that, there's dosha in that. Dosha means there's defect that is not going to open the door into the Atma. It is going to give me some experience, as we mentioned in the Shaiva Tantra tradition, the Kashmiri Shaivism tradition, that the Vishayas, when you interact with them meditatively, as Shiv Shakti connection, in a meditative way, the Vishayas are experienced in their entirety for what they are without damaging one's energy. That is not dosh drishtaya. That is simply interacting and seeing their nature and then leaving them alone. That is not suppressing or indulging. It is interacting within a certain range to clearly gain their experience and then to leave them alone and move to the next experience. Because we cannot live without experience in life. But the experience, now if you connect this with what Shankaracharya ji is saying, he says that be aware of the mind seeking more and more experience from those objects. That's where the defect is there. Like, for example, if you make something to eat, there's no problem, there's no defect in that. The problem is that if I consider that my whole and soul happiness is just based on what I ate right now, that's a problem. And if I'm just trying to increase stimulation, that's a dosha. If I have raga dvesha towards what I'm eating, that's a entanglement. So this is a very big thing to understand, as with anything else, to recognize the vortex of the senses, and then to again and again. It says muhur muhuhu. The next word is muhur muhuhu, means again and again, to see the limitations, the defects, the fact that one cannot open the door into the Atma just by increasing sense gratification. If that was the case, whole world would have been enlightened long time ago. In fact, animals and everybody would be enlightened if enlightenment was only based on sense gratification. But it is not based on sense gratification. Sense interaction, sense experience is a necessity in life that will give us enough life and stability and experience so that we can transcend the vortex. Why does the vortex or the chaos of the sense objects exist? It exists so that we can go beyond it. Why does Maya Prakriti manifest itself? So we can transcend it. That's why. Bhagwan ki jo Maya hai, that is not there so that we can simply get lost in that. It is an expression. The Brahmandas are the expression of Mahamaya, so that we can either play with those objects lifetime after lifetime after lifetime and be crushed by the lifetime after lifetime, or we can evolve further and ask the great goddess, that is Mahamaya, to release us from her clutches. She's not going to release anybody who doesn't want to be released from that. It's not going to happen. And Bhagwan Sri Krishna is very clear. He says that you have to come to me. He says, Daivi esha gunamai mama maya duratya mam evaye prapadyante maya metam tarante. You come to Bhagwan. Jiski maya hai uske paas jana. He will release you if you want to be released. So this Brahma Vidya that we are studying is for those who are mumukshus, those who are seeking mukti. Mumukshu means those who are seeking moksha, seeking liberation, and the realization internally of the chaos of the sense objects. This is intense. I mean, literally, if you take a 5-minute walk in any mall, go to any mall, go for just 5 minutes inside there, see what happens inside the mind. One store, another store, this is attractive. You feel like buying something, you feel like, oh, I have this. There are rapid thoughts that will come in taking a 5-minute walk in the mall. If you want to experience what is the chaos of the sense objects, take a 5-minute walk in the mall. But at the same time, you can walk inside there as a liberated being, without all that chaos. You see the attractiveness, you see the different objects, you also see the limitations of them, but you also see the effect that they do have. If you are going by in the mall by one of those Janvier diamond stores or something like that, they have so many diamonds there. Just say you go inside there, you can appreciate that this is part of Prakriti. There's so much to appreciate in Prakriti. From my understanding, from Sach's understanding, these ideas in the Vivek Chudamani Vachanamrut are not an assault on the experiences of Prakriti. It is not a hatred of the experiences of Prakriti. It is not a criticism of the experiences of Prakriti. It is the realization of the limitation of the experience of Prakriti. See this point. If I'm sitting in my car and at the most I can go 120 miles per hour, let's say. That's a limitation of the car. So that's a limitation. I'm not criticizing the car. I'm not hating the car because of that. it's its limitation. There's a limit there. And if I go beyond that, it's going to damage the car, damage the engine, damage whatever, give me the speeding tickets, and so many problems will happen. This is what we are doing with our body and our senses and the world. We are overstimulating it, and that's what's creating the chaos. Vishaya vratad. Vishaya vratad. Vishaya vratad is the confusion, chaos. It's a massive mixture of the Vishayas. And then the mind is just absolutely cluttered by that. The Vishayas exist outside and they exist inside. And the ones that exist inside are in a state of rolling chaos. And then that's what causes all the pain, suffering. It causes nightmares. It causes crazy dreams. What is all of this? This is the vortex of this of the Sukshma Sharira. Gunatitanand Swami mentioned in Swamini Vato that Sukshma Sharir no kajiyo bhare che. So everything that I just described, he put that in just one sentence there. Kajiyo means the battles, the confusions. It's intense. And he says, Jare e mati jare apnu kaam thai gyu, meaning that you realize the Atma. Once the problems of the subtle body are gone, then the causal body problems also go away, because the causal body doesn't have any influence then on that. It's a realization. Then the Atma shines. And he has described, Gunatitanand Swami mentioned about what is the Atma. He says it is a divine light, intense divinity, Divya Prakasha. But to reach that stage of the Atma, and beyond that, the Paramatma also, this is the foundation. Virajya Vishaya Vratad. Now I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Virajya Vishaya Vratad Dosha Drushtaya. That's the pronunciation. See, Dosha Drushtaya Muhur Muhuhu. Again and again. Many times what happens in life, we say, oh, you know what, okay, I can see what the limitations are of, let's say, buying clothes. Let's just take clothes, for example. Okay, I need clothes, so I have some clothes, fine. But if I get attracted to more and more clothing, okay, I get attracted, I buy more. But if I keep buying more, then I find that I am now getting bound, and then hopefully I can reflect and see that there is defect in that. Defect not in the clothes, in my pursuit of getting more and more of them. There are some people who have a shopping addiction. So they are just crazy behind buying different things. They don't even open the package, just keep it inside. So dosha drushtaya, and he's saying, see the defect in running after the Vishayas which have created the chaos. And when you see that clearly, the running after the Vishayas stops because you don't want the chaos. And if you don't want the chaos, then why do we not want that chaos? Because what is our goal? Dheyo Narayano Hari, Bhagwan ka sakshatkar hamara. Dheya hai. That is our goal in life. So if that is truly our goal, not just as an idea, not just as some small thing, no, then look at what Shankaracharya ji is saying next. He says here, well, he's saying it right here, see? Swalakshe. Swalakshe means one's goal. One must decide what is that goal. And then he says here, the next word is Niyata Vasta. Niyata Vasta. Niyata Vasta means what? Again and again. Avasta. Niyata Avasta. Niyat avastha, like this. It's a combination of two words. So avastha means you are in that state of contemplation again and again and again. It is you're resting in the consistency of that contemplation. What is that contemplation? Now, that contemplation is the contemplation on God from a bhakti, as bhakti. It is also contemplation on the difference between the Atma and the Anatma. What is not the Atma? What is the Atma? That contemplation remains all the time. Even you're going in the mall, you're going in the park, you're going anywhere in the world, you see the whole world as a flux of Prakriti, that it is anitya. Nitya, anitya, vastu, vivekaha. That contemplation, he's explaining this now further, that you're holding that contemplation within. Look at with what intensity it is being held within. It is being held within with the intensity of realizing the dosha drishtaya, the vision, the observation of the defects of the objects, that the objects do not provide infinite joy. They provide a limited experience, even the highest quality of them. You might have a private plane with every facility inside there. You ride it 10, 15, 20 times or even less than that, and you will find some fault in that, some defect. You'll get tired of it. You'll get bored of it. You'll want to find something more. This is always the problem. We call it a problem because we're stuck that way. We want something more than what we have. यही हमारी बड़ी समस्या है जीवन में. That's why Bhagwan Swaminarayan, I'm going to go back to Vachanamrut just a moment here. Oh boy, we need so much time for this. This is really something. Let me see if I can go back here real quick. So, see what Maharaj said here. He said here that those who are the ekantik bhaktas, ane evo je ekantik bhakta, te dehono ત્યાગ કરીને સર્વે માયાના ભાવથી મુક્ત થઈને અરચી માર્ગે કરીને ભગવાનના અક્ષરધામને પામે છે. He's saying that those who are at the stage of ekantik state, bhakta, dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti, they are combined together. We are just talking about jnana and vairagya in the Vivek Chudamani mostly. Shankaracharya ji has written about bhakti, Bhaja Govindam and all the other bhakti literature, 80%. Maharaj put it together. He says, okay, you need jnana to support bhakti, you need bhakti to support jnana. And look at what happens. When a person is in this state, one lives a liberated life, first of all. But along with that, he is explaining what happens here when the body is released. When a person passes away, when the karmic effect is completely exhausted, the body falls away. But the Jivatma goes through Archi Marg. Archi Marg is what? So it is actually the path of light. Archi Marg is a path of divine light that shows up, and that light that shows up, it is in one sense it is the Kundalini that is awakening, but from the Agnya Chakra, this is an internal reality that opens up. So that internal reality opens up because the body is going to go one day. But we want to make sure that before this body goes, we have Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya and Bhakti. These must be there in place so that the Jivatma is released from the Sahasrara Chakra, goes into the Akshara Brahma, goes into the divine realm and not back in the Sansar. The Vivek Chudamani, Bhagavad Gita, Vachanamrut, Swamini Vato and all the great Brahma Vidya scriptures are talking just about this point, this one point. To prevent the Jivatma getting drowned back into the Sansara. This is not an ordinary thing. This is very, very significant for every human being. We don't understand this. This is so critical because physical end of the physical body is not the end, folks. Not at all. One could wind up anywhere. One has to be careful. In many ways, our entire life is just a preparation for this one point only of the preparation for moksha. And the only way that is going to happen is if we have dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti. If we have desires for this world, desires for family, desires for objects, desire for things of this world, desire for position, power, attachments, all this vortex that Shankaracharya ji is talking about, if that stuff is in our head still just before the point where we're ready to release from the body, if all that is still stuck inside the mind, then that's a lot of trouble. Then the Jivatma will be born into the womb of the mother again, some mother somewhere. Is that what we want? You want to become a child in somebody else's house? And then be crushed in this sansar again? Look at how much pain, suffering there is in the Garbhavas. Look at how much pain, suffering children have in growing up again and learning everything again. And kitna headache hai sab kuch. For what? Why? If we want to stop that, 100% dive into Brahma Vidya. Don't waste 1 second even. This is the teaching of all the great sages. In Shikshapatri, Bhagwan Swaminarayan mentioned, Vyartaha kalena netavyo bhaktim bhagavato vina. Don't waste time in life. Keep yourself in devotion. Bhagwan ki bhakti mein akhand rehna. Akhand ratan Bhagwan ka naam. And do the worldly activity, but recognize that the Grahasthashram is not a place to be stuck in. Grahasthashram is an intermediate stage into Vairagya. But most people are drowning in Grahasthashram. That is not a place to be stuck in. It is a means to a further development. Yes, we love family, love pets, love everybody in Grahastha. But love or asakti, prem or asakti mein bahut bada farak hai. Asakti is asakti is the individualized ego's attachment and into the vortex of the lives of family members. Love is not that. Love is showering grace on the whole world, including your family members. That is prem. That is Divya Prem, divine Prem, Divya Bhav, Divya Ananda. Brahma Vidya koi khel nahi hai. Isme to one has to have so much tenacity, courage. Shurveer padu. Bhagwan Swaminarayan mentioned Shurveer Bhakta. So Shurveer hai, ready to do this. And not be touched and not be crushed by anything in this sansar. What is this sansar compared to the Atma? ऐसी दिव्यता होनी चाहिए. It doesn't mean you're criticizing. The sansar is not the problem. The problem is our chaos inside. Vishaya vratad. The chaos inside. That confusion inside. When we say, I don't want that, in the moment, in the present, we start living our life in the extraordinary manner, holding these ideas inside and then reflecting on them, living in them. So when you see a word like dosha drishtaya, yes, you can see the defects. When you see the defects, you are away from that kind of interaction that is going to cause problems. But limited amount of interaction with the sense objects is necessary. Certain amount. And then even that can be expanded. It's not that. But then one has to see that if I just keep expanding it, I will get sick of it. I can enjoy chocolate ice cream 1 cone. I can enjoy 2 cones. The 3rd cone I can, okay, maybe. By the time you get to the 4th, you're going to start vomiting. That is called dosha drishtaya. There's a limit to which the sense object should be enjoyed. And if we have the art of living is what? Living in the world with the sense objects in a certain range that you can extract the good quality experience and use that experience to help you to explore Prakriti and Brahma Vidya. That is the bridge between Advaita Vedanta and Shaiva tradition, the Kashmiri Shaivism tradition. And with that bridge, then you can evolve into Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti that Bhagwan Swaminarayan is talking about. Bhagwan Swaminarayan begins where this bridge He's putting Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Bhakti on the foundation of this bridge. That's where, so this bridge is where Shikshapatri comes into play. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The 4 Purusharth are talked about in that. So because we have to live in this world. Even if you are a renunciate sadhu, you're still living in the world. You're still eating food. You're still wearing clothes. You may not be wearing your other clothes, but you're wearing clothes. You're still seeing with your eyes. You're still hearing with your ears. Yes, it is related to God and all that. No question. But again, that is a Tyaga ashram. There's a much more restriction of experience. The experience is restricted. In Grahastha ashram, there isn't that level of restriction. You see, there are two different things, Tyagi or Grahastha. Jo Tyagi hote hai, they can live in a very restrictive environment. And their aim is to realize the highest truth. Through that, with those restrictions. Those who are Grahasthis, they cannot live as Tyagis. That is not to be done that way. You have to live as a Grahastha. But to live as a Grahastha in a way that the experience of Grahastha ashram is utilized to build a realization of the limitations of those experiences, and then there is a natural tyaga of those experiences. Natural tag would be what? Somebody who's watching so many hours of television and all that, who said, no, now there's mumukshutva is there, vairagya is there. Now a person is only watching some very limited things. From inside, the Ichha is not there. That is a natural Tyaga. The other one could be a natural Tyaga who's taken Diksha and all that. It's possible. But there's problems in that also. You could still have desires from inside. So when you restrict from the outside, unless you have Vairagya from inside, you will that Tyaga will not remain. Tyaga na take Vairagya vina kariye koti upay. Without Vairagya, no Tyag remains. If I say that I don't want to watch too much TV, I have to have that level of Vairagya and realization from within of all the limitations and problems. And not only that, from inside the desire for that has to disappear. And then I can just select what I need to evolve further and evolve my intelligence and my buddhi and everything further. Those are the decisions I would have to make. So, the fact is that each moment of life, we have a choice to make. Do we generate more chaos within the system? Vishaya Vratad, which is chaos of the sense objects. Virajya Vishaya Vratad. The chaos, do we want that? Or we don't want the chaos? It's a very simple question. We can try it today. It's a practical exercise to try today. Right now it's 9:20 a.m. Practical exercise. Between now and the time we go to bed, to what extent is Sachin creating any level of this chaos inside? And to what extent is he free from it? I have to ask myself this question, genuinely. Otherwise, what is the point of even talking about all this? If I don't ask myself this, if I don't see this within myself directly, and that seeing directly as it is without bias is the Guru Tattva active inside. That is the outside Guru that becomes active inside. Because all true enlightened sages that are outside, they are actually inside of us. That state that they're in is already inside of us. We just have to recognize and open that. Okay, so we'll continue on this tomorrow. We'll talk more about this verse, number 22. Connect with that one line we have not gotten further into that Vachanamrut line. We'll get to that also, and some other ways of looking at this from some different angles. We'll look at it tomorrow.